Have you ever wondered what truly separates those who achieve greatness from those who merely exist? What if the distance between your current self and your strongest self is simply a decision away? Listen closely, because what I'm about to share isn't just information. It's a command to transform your life. This is Neville Goddard's wisdom distilled into its most potent form. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the globe. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, has this ever happened to you? You set an ambitious goal, feel that initial surge of motivation, only to watch it slowly fade as days pass and obstacles appear. You're not alone. The path to mediocrity is wide and comfortable, while the road to excellence is narrow and demanding. But what if I told you that the fundamental difference between staying average and becoming exceptional is the willingness to burn the bridges behind you? The strongest version of yourself emerges only when you eliminate all paths back to mediocrity. This isn't about making casual improvements. It's about carving a crystal-clear vision into your mind with such precision that the world has no choice but to align with your intentions. A vague aim produces a vague life, but a clear aim bends reality to your will. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might surprise you. While most people focus solely on motivation and inspiration, the true alchemy of transformation happens elsewhere. You see, desire may be the spark that ignites change, but discipline is the engine that sustains it. Your habits aren't just what you do, they're a direct reflection of your strength. Think about it. If your habits are weak, you are weak. Period. The rituals you perform daily either elevate you toward greatness or chain you to mediocrity. Rising early when others sleep, focusing deeply when others scatter their attention, and rejecting distractions with the same vigilance you would reject poison, these aren't just good practices. They're non-negotiable commands for anyone serious about transformation. What most people don't realize is that while everyone else is wasting precious energy looking for shortcuts, the truly powerful are quietly building fortresses of discipline that make quitting impossible. Each moment you waste contemplating whether to take action, someone else is sharpening their blade, expanding their mind, and claiming the success that could have been yours. But the question remains: how do you generate the kind of unstoppable desire that fuels relentless discipline? What separates those who talk about their dreams from those who actually achieve them? And most importantly, what specific practices can transform ordinary discipline into extraordinary power? If you're committed to becoming the strongest version of yourself, hit that subscribe button now. I share powerful insights and transformational wisdom that will help you unlock your fullest potential. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the hidden truth about transformation. The journey to becoming your strongest self requires more than just external actions. It demands the construction of an inner fortress where fear and doubt cannot penetrate. This internal sanctuary isn't built overnight. It's crafted through the meticulous control of your thoughts, a vigilance that most people simply aren't willing to maintain. Your thoughts aren't random occurrences. They're the architects of your reality. What begins as a fleeting thought crystallizes into a belief. That belief dictates your actions, and those actions, repeated over time, determine your destiny. The revelation that most people miss is this: your mind isn't neutral territory. It's either working for you or against you. Every day, your consciousness is bombarded with thousands of thoughts, many of which are designed to keep you small, safe, and mediocre. The decision to filter what enters your mind is perhaps the most crucial one you'll ever make. Feed your mind only with content that strengthens your resolve, Cut off every voice of doubt, especially your own. This isn't about positive thinking, it's about strategic thinking. It's about recognizing that mental discipline is the foundation upon which every other form of discipline is built. But here's where your transformation journey takes an unexpected turn: the impact of those around you. The mindset behind the scenes of every success story includes a critical examination of companionship. The people you walk with shape the path you take, with an influence so profound it can either accelerate or derail your entire journey. Most people underestimate the power of proximity. They surround themselves with individuals who offer comfort rather than growth, who reinforce their limitations rather than challenging them to expand. Your social environment isn't just a backdrop to your life, it's actively molding your standards, your ambitions, and ultimately your results. Stand with giants, not clowns. Walk with those who demand more from life, and through the silent force of proximity, you will naturally begin to demand more from yourself. Their standards become your standards. Their expectations become your expectations. Their vision of what's possible expands your own. This isn't about abandoning friends. It's about making conscious decisions about who gets to influence your most precious asset, your mind. The uncomfortable truth is that transformation often requires separation. You cannot become who you're meant to be while clinging to relationships that anchor you to who you've been. The decisions you make about your inner dialogue and your outer circle aren't small choices, they're fundamental. Shifts that determine whether your potential remains dormant or ignites into something extraordinary. Your mind and your relationships are the twin pillars upon which your strongest self will stand. As we continue exploring this path of transformation, I'm curious, which aspect are you finding more challenging right now? Building your inner fortress or upgrading your circle? Type inner work or outer circle in the comments so I know where you're at in this journey. Let me reveal another dimension of this journey that most people overlook. The strongest version of yourself isn't born from occasional bursts of inspiration or massive overnight shifts. The true revelation lies in the quiet power of daily improvement, those small, seemingly insignificant actions that, when compounded over time, create extraordinary transformation. The mystery behind every masterpiece, whether it's a sculpted physique, a thriving business, or an unshakable mindset, is hidden in plain sight. Daily, consistent advancement. Most people fail, not because they lack ambition, but because they underestimate the profound impact of small gains accumulated over time. They search for the breakthrough moment while ignoring the daily disciplines that create breakthroughs. What if I told you that improving just 1% each day would make you 37 times better in a single year? This mathematical reality reveals the exponential power behind consistent growth. Yet most people cannot harness this force because they approach improvement as an option rather than a command, something they do when it's convenient or when motivation strikes, rather than as a non-negotiable standard. Your decision to become better every single day, not once a month, not when it feels good, but daily, is what separates those who merely exist from those who truly live. This commitment becomes the invisible architecture beneath every visible success. But daily improvement without direction is like a ship with powerful engines, but no destination. This brings us to perhaps the most crucial element in your transformation: definiteness of purpose. Behind the scenes of every remarkable achievement lies an unshakable decision carved into someone's mind like stone. Nothing great was ever created by accident. The empire that inspires you, the invention that changed the world, the physique you admire, all began as a single crystal-clear decision in someone's consciousness. Without this clarity of purpose, life will use you as its pawn. You'll drift through existence responding to others' priorities, dancing to melodies composed by forces outside yourself. Most people never decide who they truly want to become. They live by impulse, by comfort, by routine, hoping that someday something will happen to change their circumstances. But someday is the lie of the weak. It's the comfort blanket that keeps mediocrity warm at night. The hard truth is that someday doesn't exist. Only now exists, and only those with focused purpose can truly see and seize it. The strongest version of you is waiting on the other side of a decision. Not a wish, not a hope, but a definite, uncompromising decision about who you will become and what you will create with the one life you've been given. Until you choose it with complete certainty, until you can see it with such clarity that it feels more real than your present reality, you will never access the extraordinary power that lies dormant within you. If you're ready to commit to this level of definite purpose in your life, type "I decide" in the comments below. Let's make it clear to ourselves and the universe that from this moment forward, we're no longer drifting, we're directing. Let me share with you one of the most destructive illusions that keeps people trapped in mediocrity: the myth of someday. This powerful deception has robbed more dreams than failure ever could. Most people drift through life in a perpetual waiting state, hoping that someday they'll have more time, someday they'll have more money, someday they'll feel ready, someday the conditions will be perfect. This waiting game is the silent killer of potential. It's the comfortable lie we tell ourselves to justify inaction. The revelation that changes everything is this: someday doesn't exist. It never has, and it never will. There is only now, this moment, this hour, this day, and what you do with it. The focused mind understands this truth at a visceral level and acts accordingly. Your strongest self isn't waiting for you in some distant future. It exists right now, on the other side of decisive action taken today. The gap between who you are and who you could be is crossed only through the bridge of immediate action. When you delay, you deny your own evolution. When you wait for perfect conditions, you surrender to mediocrity. The awakening comes when you realize that the journey of transformation doesn't begin with more information or better circumstances. It begins with a decision that this moment matters more than the imaginary someday. This shift in perception is what separates the extraordinary from the ordinary. And here's where the true alchemy happens. When you reject someday thinking and embrace the power of now, you must simultaneously clarify your vision with unprecedented precision. The landscape of achievement is littered with vague intentions that never materialized into reality. Don't miss another breakthrough on your journey to greatness. Subscribe now and join thousands of others who are transforming their lives through these principles of purpose and discipline. Definiteness of purpose isn't about broad, generic desires. Saying "I want to be successful" or "I want to be happy" carries about as much power as a whisper in a hurricane. These statements lack the energetic charge needed to reshape reality. They're too nebulous to overcome resistance and too ambiguous to direct your focus. What's required is clarity so razor-sharp that it cuts through the fog of doubt. You must define your vision with such precision, such vivid detail, that it burns into your consciousness and becomes more real to you than your present circumstances. When you can see it, feel it, taste it, and touch it in your mind, it begins to exert a magnetic pull on your reality. This level of clarity transforms your decision-making. Instead of wondering what to do next, you instantly recognize what advances your vision and what doesn't. The noise fades away. Distractions lose their power. Options that don't align with your purpose naturally fall away because they no longer resonate with who you're becoming. Think of your vision as a lighthouse. The clearer and brighter it shines, the more effectively it guides you through storms and darkness. Without this beacon, you'll drift aimlessly, vulnerable to every current and wind that passes. With it, even the fiercest tempest cannot permanently knock you off course. The revolution in your life begins when you combine these two forces: rejecting the illusion of someday, while simultaneously defining your vision with such clarity that it becomes your North Star. If this resonates with your spirit right now, type "No more somedays" in the comments, and let's create a community of people who refuse to postpone their greatness. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the miraculous shift that occurs when you truly decide. Not when you try, not when you hope, not when you wish, but when you decide with such finality that the matter is settled in your soul. This moment of authentic decision acts as an invisible catalyst that begins rearranging your entire existence. The breakthrough comes when you understand that transformation doesn't happen gradually after hundreds of small choices. The quantum leap in your life happens the instant you make a genuine decision. Everything that follows, the discipline, the work, the consistency, these are merely the physical manifestations of a shift that has already occurred at the deepest level of your being. When this decision crystallizes within you, a fascinating alchemy begins. You naturally start eliminating anything that doesn't align with your mission. It's not forced or mechanical, it's organic. Distractions that once consumed hours of your time suddenly become meaningless. Habits that held you back for years begin to dissolve without the struggle you anticipated. Even people who don't elevate your consciousness naturally adrift from your life, making space for connections that fuel your evolution. The universe recognizes authentic decisions. It responds to them with a synchronicity that can seem almost magical to those who haven't experienced it. But this isn't mysticism. It's the natural consequence of a mind that has eliminated contradiction and fragmentation. When every part of you is moving in the same direction, your energy becomes focused like a laser, cutting through obstacles that once seemed impenetrable. This transformation through decision reveals itself most clearly in the subtle shift of the questions you ask yourself daily. The extraordinary no longer ask, "What do I feel like doing?" This question keeps you chained to comfort, impulse, and the tyranny of the moment. Instead, they ask, "What advances my purpose?" This single shift in questioning creates a seismic change in results. Your questions aren't innocent inquiries, they're powerful directors of focus. And where focus goes, energy flows. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your questions. When you consistently ask purpose-driven questions, you activate a different part of your mind that seeks solutions rather than escapes, progress rather than comfort. This revolution in questioning transforms your daily experience. Suddenly, tasks that seemed boring become meaningful because they connect to your larger vision. Challenges that seemed overwhelming become intriguing puzzles to solve. The resistance that once stopped you becomes a welcome teacher, strengthening your resolve. The hidden truth is that this shift doesn't require more willpower. It requires more purpose power. When your questions are anchored in purpose, your actions naturally align with excellence. You stop needing to push yourself because purpose pulls you forward with a force stronger than any external motivation could provide. If this principle has illuminated something for you today, type "purpose-driven" in the comments and let's create a community committed to asking better questions that lead to extraordinary results. Let me share with you an awakening that liberates those who truly understand it. Readiness is nothing but a myth, a comfortable illusion that keeps countless dreams buried in the cemetery of someday. This revelation transforms how you approach every opportunity in your life. Think about it. When was the last time you felt completely ready to take a significant leap? The truth is, that perfect moment of readiness you're waiting for doesn't exist. It never has. It's a phantom created by fear disguised as prudence. The masters of their destiny understand that you don't become ready and then act. You act and then become ready. This insight isn't just philosophical. It's practical wisdom that unlocks doors most people never even approach. Behind every breakthrough, every innovation, every personal renaissance lies someone who was willing to step forward before they felt prepared. They understood the counterintuitive truth that action precedes readiness, not the other way around. Purpose creates power. When you move with clear intention, even before you feel equipped, you activate forces within yourself that remain dormant in those waiting for permission or certainty. The universe responds not to your readiness, but to your commitment. When you fully commit to a path, reality begins to rearrange itself around your intentions, bringing resources, people, and opportunities that weren't visible from where you stood in hesitation. This brings us to perhaps the most profound dimension of transformation, the unbreakable vow. The enlightenment comes when you recognize that real decisions aren't casual wishes or fleeting intentions. They are sacred commitments carved into the bedrock of your being. Most people confuse preferences with decisions, desires with declarations. They say, "I want to" instead of "I will," and wonder why their reality doesn't shift. An unbreakable vow goes beyond motivation or inspiration. It's a solemn declaration of what you will become regardless of the cost. Then, and this is where the alchemy happens, you willingly pay that cost daily. You accept in advance that your transformation will demand sacrifice, discipline, and persistence. You embrace these not as burdensome requirements, but as the necessary investments in your evolution. The transcendent understanding is this: purpose without sacrifice is merely fantasy floating in the realm of daydreams. Purpose without discipline is just noise, passionate words that evaporate without the substance of consistent action. The unbreakable vow brings both sacrifice and discipline into perfect alignment with your vision. When you make this kind of vow, you stop negotiating with yourself. The internal debate about whether to show up, whether to do the work, whether to push through resistance, it all dissolves in the face of your declaration. The decision is made once, then honored daily. Through your actions, this is the hidden pathway to unstoppable momentum. The journey of transformation requires this level of commitment, not because the path is difficult, though it often is, but because your own resistance to change runs deeper than you realize. The unbreakable vow overcomes this resistance not through force, but through the quiet power of a decision that doesn't recognize compromise. If you're ready to leave the myth of readiness behind and make an unbreakable vow to your highest self, type "I vow" in the comments below and stake your claim to the life you're creating. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing one of the most counterintuitive secrets of transformation: the power of singular focus. In a world that celebrates multitasking and praises the insurance policy of backup plans, this revelation might challenge your entire approach to achievement. Definiteness of purpose isn't about hedging your bets or creating safety nets. It's about the audacious commitment to one clear objective that commands the full force of your being. This singular focus acts as an energy amplifier that few ever experience because most are unwilling to concentrate their power so completely. Think about sunlight. When diffused, it merely warms the earth. But when concentrated through a magnifying glass, that same light becomes intense enough to ignite fire. Your energy works in precisely the same way. When you divide your focus among multiple pursuits, goals, or backup plans, you inevitably dilute your power. You become adequate at many things, but extraordinary at none. The breakthrough occurs when you commit to one mission with such totality that it becomes the organizing principle of your existence. This commitment isn't born from desperation, but from clarity. When you eliminate the escape routes of Plan B, Plan C, and Plan D, something miraculous happens within your consciousness. Hidden reservoirs of energy, creativity, and resilience suddenly become available to you. This singularity of purpose awakens abilities you didn't know you possessed. Your mind, no longer fragmented across multiple possibilities, becomes laser-focused and begins to perceive opportunities invisible to the scattered eye. Your intuition sharpens, your decision-making accelerates, the noise of endless options fades into the background as your path forward becomes unmistakably clear. But make no mistake, this journey will test you. You will face resistance, doubt, and fear. The universe seems to challenge every meaningful pursuit, not to defeat you, but to ensure you want it badly enough. This is where the transcendent power of purpose reveals itself most profoundly. When your purpose is crystal clear, it transforms these obstacles from roadblocks into fuel. Every test becomes an opportunity to prove your commitment. Every setback becomes a setup for a comeback. This alchemical conversion happens not because the obstacles change, but because your relationship to them fundamentally shifts. When you know exactly why you're pursuing your goal, when your purpose resonates in your bones, pain becomes merely a stepping stone on your path. Rejection becomes valuable feedback, refining your approach. Failure becomes your most profound teacher, revealing precisely what needs to be adjusted. This is the ultimate liberation, to be so anchored in purpose that external circumstances lose their power over your internal state. The world can no longer defeat you because your why is stronger than any how. Your commitment is more powerful than any obstacle. Purpose doesn't just motivate you, it silences the very fears that once paralyzed you. The voice of doubt that whispered, "You can't," becomes inaudible against the roar of purpose declaring, "I must." This is the mindset shift that turns ordinary people into unstoppable forces. If you've experienced this transformation of obstacles into fuel through the power of purpose, type "Purposeful Alchemy" in the comments and share this awakening with our community. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring a profound revelation that many miss on their journey to transformation: the courage to discover what you truly desire. Beneath the layers of social conditioning, others' expectations, and societal pressures lies your authentic calling. But accessing it requires a particular kind of bravery that few are willing to cultivate. The blueprint for an extraordinary life isn't found in external formulas, but in your deepest truth. Many spend decades climbing ladders that are leaning against the wrong walls, pursuing goals that were never truly theirs. The awakening begins when you have the courage to ask yourself this illuminating question: if you knew with absolute certainty that you couldn't fail, what would you build? Who would you become? This question bypasses the mental guardians of limitation and taps directly into the wellspring of your authentic desires. The answer that emerges isn't just information, it's revelation. It's the North Star by which all other decisions can be calibrated. When you uncover this truth, you must commit to it with the gravity it deserves, as if your life depends on it. Because in the most profound sense, it does. Your existence here isn't casual or accidental. It's a sacred opportunity to manifest something that has never existed before, something that can only come through your unique consciousness. This understanding transforms how you approach each day of your journey. The sobering reality is that your life will unfold in one of two ways: as an intentional masterpiece crafted with purpose and vision, or as an accidental blur of reaction and circumstance. There is no neutral option, no middle ground. Every moment moves you either toward conscious creation or unconscious drifting. Purpose serves as the master architect, drawing the blueprint that guides each decision and action. It ignites the fire of passion that burns through obstacles and limiting beliefs. Most profoundly, it begins to bend reality to your will, not through mystical manipulation, but through the focused power of a mind unified around a singular vision. This is the hidden mechanism behind every transcendent achievement in human history. The person who created it, first, held it in their mind with unwavering clarity before manifesting it in physical reality. They refused to be defined by their current circumstances or capabilities. Instead, they decided who they must become and committed every fiber of their being to that transformation. Until you make this decision, until you declare with absolute certainty who you must become, you'll never rise beyond who you currently are. You'll remain trapped within the boundaries of your existing identity, continuously recreating the same results and experiences. The catalyst for quantum growth is always the decision that precedes the visible change. If you've discovered your authentic desires beneath the noise of others' expectations, type "authentic blueprint" in the comments and claim your power as the architect of your destiny. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining what truly separates those who achieve greatness from those who merely dream about it. The revelation lies in what they allow to consume their consciousness. Their relationship with purpose becomes not just a priority, but an obsession that transforms their entire existence. When purpose becomes your obsession, it transcends the realm of activities and enters the dimension of identity. It's no longer something you do, it's who you are. This obsession manifests as the first thought that greets you in the morning and the last companion before sleep claims you at night. It becomes the lens through which you filter every decision, every relationship, every opportunity. The enlightenment comes when you recognize that this level of obsession isn't unhealthy, it's necessary. The world's greatest achievements weren't built by balanced individuals who maintained comfortable boundaries between their vision and their life. They were forged by those who allowed their purpose to consume them until it became the oxygen they breathed, the blood in their veins, the fire in their heart. Make your purpose the reason you rise when comfort begs you to stay in bed, the force that drives you forward when logic says to retreat, the resilience that keeps you standing when others have long since fallen. Let it be the explanation for your suffering and the justification for your sacrifice. This isn't martyrdom, it's the ultimate expression of self-actualization. Allow your purpose to consume you so completely that no room remains for weakness or doubt. When purpose fills every chamber of your consciousness, fear finds no corner in which to hide. Hesitation becomes a stranger. Excuses evaporate in the heat of your conviction. This total immersion creates a momentum that transforms obstacles into stepping stones. The breakthrough understanding is this: the world operates according to invisible laws, and one of the most powerful is that it naturally steps aside for those who know exactly where they're going. This isn't mysticism, it's practical reality. When you move with absolute clarity and unwavering commitment, you radiate a certainty that others can sense. Opportunities appear, doors open, resources materialize. Choose your path, not with casual consideration, but with the gravity of someone selecting the course of their destiny. This choice isn't merely intellectual, it's existential. It must resonate in your bones, echo in your heart, and illuminate your mind. When your path is chosen with this level of certainty, the universe conspires to clear obstacles that would stop the hesitant in their tracks. Your commitment to becoming the strongest version of yourself isn't just another self-improvement project, it's the fundamental reason for your existence. The path you choose must reflect this magnitude. It must be worthy of your full devotion, demanding enough to require your greatest strengths, and meaningful enough to justify the inevitable sacrifices it will demand. The decision to walk this path with unwavering commitment is perhaps the most profound act of self-creation possible. It transforms you from a passive recipient of circumstances into an active creator of your reality. If this level of purposeful obsession speaks to something deep within you, type "consumed by purpose" in the comments and claim your place among those who refuse to live beneath their potential. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the fundamental force that makes everything we've discussed possible. At the core of every transformation lies an element so powerful, yet so misunderstood, that most never learn to harness it properly. Desire. Not the casual, comfortable kind that most mistake for motivation, but the all-consuming fire that turns the impossible into the inevitable. When genuine desire burns through your veins like molten steel, it transforms your entire being. Obstacles that stop others in their tracks become mere stepping stones on your journey. Limitations that define others' realities dissolve in the heat of your conviction. The world doesn't yield to talent, credentials, or even luck. It bends to those who want it more, to those whose desire has transcended normal boundaries and become a force of nature. The revelation that changes everything is understanding the vast chasm between interest and obsession. This distinction explains why so many begin transformational journeys, but so few complete them. Most people don't fail because they lack ability, resources, or opportunity. They fail because they never truly wanted it in the first place. Interest is the casual tourist who enjoys the scenery but retreats at the first sign of storm clouds. Curiosity is the dabbler who samples experiences but abandons them when they demand sacrifice. Both interest and curiosity have their place, but neither possesses the gravitational pull necessary to create lasting change. True desire is altogether different. It's the invisible architect behind every achievement worth mentioning. It endures pain that would break mere interest. It survives rejection that would shatter mere curiosity. It pushes through doubt, defeat, and darkness with a resilience that appears superhuman to those watching from the sidelines. This level of desire doesn't fade when the initial excitement wears off. It doesn't diminish when results are slow to materialize. It grows stronger with every test, feeding on challenges that would extinguish lesser fires. This is the transcendent quality that Neville Goddard recognized in all who achieved greatness. They didn't just want their vision, they became their vision incarnate. The awakening comes when you realize that this kind of desire isn't something you're born with or without. It's something you cultivate through conscious choice. You can transform casual interest into consuming obsession through the daily practice of connecting with your vision, feeding your fire with knowledge, surrounding yourself with catalysts, and eliminating everything that dampens your flame. When you develop desire to this degree, you stop asking if something is possible and start declaring that it will be yours. You move from the tepid waters of, "I hope this works," to the blazing certainty of, "This must happen and I will make it so." This shift creates a magnetic pull that draws resources, people, and opportunities toward your vision with an almost uncanny precision. If you've experienced moments when your desire transcended normal boundaries and gave you access to abilities you didn't know you possessed, type "Desire Ignited" in the comments below and share in this collective awakening. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by illuminating a critical distinction that separates the achievers from the dreamers, the fundamental difference between desire and hope. These two forces might appear similar on the surface, but their energy signatures couldn't be more different, and understanding this contrast could completely transform your approach to creation. Hope is passive. It waits. It sits patiently on the sidelines, fingers crossed, wishing for favorable winds. Desire, by contrast, hunts. It moves with intention, tracking its target. With relentless focus, never losing sight of the vision. Hope whispers timidly about what might be possible someday, while desire roars confidently about what must be created now. This distinction isn't semantic. It's the difference between those who dream and those who build. The revolution in your life begins when you transition from hoping things will change to desiring your vision with such intensity that it literally pulls you out of bed before sunrise. It transforms you from someone waiting for opportunity to someone who creates it. This level of desire doesn't ask permission from circumstances. It commands reality to align with its intentions. What most people never realize is that this hunger isn't just emotional fuel, it's the primary creative force in the universe. Neville Goddard understood this when he taught that feeling is the secret, not casual interest, not intellectual agreement, but that bone-deep, cellular-level feeling that your vision is already yours. That feeling is what bridges the gap between imagination and manifestation. This brings us to perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of transformation, the power of healthy obsession. Society has conditioned us to view obsession as inherently negative, but this perspective keeps most people trapped in mediocrity. The extraordinary understand that controlled, purposeful obsession is the gateway to breakthrough. Look at the pattern that emerges in every field of human achievement. The ordinary make excuses while the obsessed make progress. The ordinary seek comfort while the obsessed seek fire. The ordinary quit when it hurts while the obsessed push harder. This isn't about workaholism or unhealthy fixation. It's about channeling your life force with such precision and consistency that nothing can permanently derail your journey. When desire becomes unshakable, a miraculous shift occurs in your relationship with difficulty. Pain becomes irrelevant, not because you don't feel it, but because it no longer functions as a stop sign. It becomes merely information, a signal that you're expanding beyond your previous limitations. Obstacles that defeat others become milestones on your path, marking your progress rather than halting it. This kind of obsession isn't frantic or chaotic. It's focused and purposeful. It's the scientist who loses track of time in the laboratory, the artist who forgets to eat while creating, the entrepreneur who solves problems in their dreams. It's what psychologists call flow state, expanded into a way of life, where your purpose becomes so compelling that it reorganizes everything else around it. If you've experienced moments where your desire shifted from passive hoping to active hunting, from I wish to I will, type hunter not hopeful in the comments and join others who have discovered this transformative distinction. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring a profound revelation that most will never understand, the true nature of unshakable desire. Many believe that desire is something we either have or don't have, that it's a feeling that arrives mysteriously or abandons us without warning. This misunderstanding keeps countless dreams forever trapped in the realm of someday. The transformative insight is this: unshakable desire isn't something you wait to feel. It's something you decide to create. It's a conscious choice, a deliberate act of will that transcends fleeting emotions. You choose to want something so completely, so absolutely, that everything else in your life naturally reorganizes around this central commitment. This isn't about casual preference or conditional wanting. It's about declaring that your vision isn't merely optional or nice to have, but utterly non-negotiable. When you make this kind of decision, something extraordinary awakens within you. A force so powerful that fear cannot touch it, doubt cannot diminish it, and obstacles cannot deter it. This isn't metaphorical. It's a tangible shift in your consciousness that anyone who observes you can sense. Your eyes carry a different light. Your voice resonates with unusual certainty. Your very presence communicates an unspoken message. I am becoming unstoppable. The revelation that changes everything is understanding how life truly distributes its rewards. The universe doesn't operate according to the principles of fairness that most expect. Life doesn't give its greatest prizes to the most qualified, the most educated, or even the most deserving. It surrenders its treasures to the most relentless, to those who want success so fiercely that they simply refuse to be denied. This truth explains why we often see someone with seemingly fewer advantages overtake those with every possible head start. The relentless individual taps into a hidden current of power that the merely qualified never access. They understand the secret sequence that creates inevitable achievement. Desire creates motion. Motion creates momentum. Momentum creates results, and results feed further desire, creating an upward spiral of unstoppable growth. When you grasp this principle, you stop seeing desire as just emotional fuel and recognize it as the primary creative force in your life. You begin cultivating it deliberately, stoking it daily, protecting it fiercely from anything that might diminish its intensity. You stop waiting to feel motivated and start commanding your inner resources through the power of decision. This journey of transformation reveals itself most clearly in those moments when you continue moving forward, despite every rational reason to quit. When you're exhausted, but complete one more task. When you're discouraged, but make one more attempt. When you're uncertain, but take one more step. These aren't just acts of persistence, they're declarations of identity. Each one says, "This is who I am becoming, and nothing will stop this evolution." The world tries to convince us that obsession is unhealthy, that burning desire is excessive, that total commitment is unbalanced. This narrative serves only to keep extraordinary achievement rare and maintain mediocrity as the comfortable norm. The awakening comes when you realize that controlled, purposeful obsession isn't the enemy of fulfillment. It's the gateway to it. If you've made the decision to want your vision with unshakable intensity, rather than waiting for motivation to find you, type "Decision ignites desire" in the comments and join those who understand this transformative truth. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring one of the most transformative revelations on this journey: how your relationship with obstacles fundamentally changes when desire reaches a certain threshold. This shift doesn't just alter your results, it completely transforms your experience of the path itself. When desire is weak or casual, everything becomes an obstacle. Every difficulty feels like a sign to turn back. Every setback becomes evidence that you should quit. Every rejection feels personal, like the universe telling you that you're reaching for something that isn't meant for you. This is the mindset that keeps most people trapped in mediocrity, not because the obstacles are insurmountable, but because their desire isn't strong enough to reframe those obstacles. The awakening comes when your desire reaches that critical intensity where a profound alchemical shift occurs. Suddenly, every obstacle becomes merely a test, not of your worthiness, but of your commitment. Every setback transforms into a lesson designed specifically to prepare you for the weight of the achievement you seek. Every rejection becomes fuel that propels you forward with even greater determination. This isn't positive thinking or wishful fantasy. It's a fundamental shift in perception that changes how your nervous system processes resistance. You stop running from challenges and start walking directly into them, understanding that they aren't barriers to your desire, but catalysts for your growth. The fire of transformation is found in the very difficulties most people use as excuses to remain unchanged. What creates this level of unshakable desire? The revelation lies in understanding the difference between having goals and embodying an identity. Most people treat their visions as external objectives to be achieved, things they want to have or accomplish. But the masters of manifestation understand that the most powerful desire comes from tying your vision directly to your soul, making it not just something you pursue, but someone you become. When you make this shift, your vision is no longer just a goal on your to-do list. It's the very essence of who you are. You don't see yourself as someone striving to achieve something. You see yourself as already being the person who has accomplished it. This isn't pretending or fake it till you make it. It's what Neville Goddard called living from the end, where you occupy the consciousness of your future self so completely that your current reality has no choice but to catch up. When you believe at the deepest level that your vision is who you're meant to be, that it's your natural state rather than some extraordinary accomplishment, desire becomes inevitable. It stops being something you need to manufacture or maintain because it flows naturally from your identity. You pursue your vision not because you want it, but because you are it, and any gap between your current reality and that truth creates a tension that must be resolved. This identity-based desire doesn't fluctuate with circumstances or depend on external validation. It remains constant through success and failure, through progress and setbacks, because it's anchored in the core of who you understand yourself to be. If you've experienced this profound shift from seeing obstacles as roadblocks to recognizing them as growth catalysts, type obstacles as teachers in the comments and share in this powerful perspective. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing a fundamental truth about cultivating and sustaining transformative desire. Most people experience moments of inspiration that quickly fade because they don't understand the science of nurturing obsession. This invisible dimension of achievement separates those who merely wish from those who inevitably succeed. Your environment isn't neutral. It's either feeding your obsession or slowly poisoning it. Every image you see, conversation you have, and space you occupy is either reinforcing your vision or diluting it. The revelation that changes everything is this: desire must be deliberately cultivated, protected, and amplified through conscious environmental design. The masters of manifestation understand that you must starve distractions and comfort while systematically feeding your obsession. This isn't about positive thinking, it's about strategic immersion. Surround your physical and mental space with reminders of what you want. The photographs on your walls, the books on your shelves, the people in your inner circle, all should reflect and reinforce your vision. Write your vision until it becomes imprinted in your neurology. Speak it aloud until your own voice convinces your subconscious. Visualize it with such vivid detail that your nervous system cannot distinguish between imagination and reality. This consistent reinforcement creates a burning clarity that naturally shapes every action you take, every decision you make, and every opportunity you recognize. But here comes the part most aren't prepared to hear. This journey will demand a price that the ordinary aren't willing to pay. Desire, real, transformative desire, will demand your comfort. It will claim hours of sleep. It will disrupt your peace of mind as the gap between your vision and current reality creates a creative tension that cannot be ignored. This obsession will sometimes isolate you from those who don't understand your drive. It will consume your thoughts during moments others fill with distraction, and here's the illumination that liberates. This isn't a problem to be fixed, it's a necessary process of creation. Nothing truly legendary was ever built from balance, moderation, or convenience. The masterpieces that change the world, the businesses that transform industries, the physical transformations that inspire millions, these aren't created by those who protect their comfort zones. They emerge from individuals willing to give everything to their vision, who understand that extraordinary results require extraordinary commitment. This isn't about workaholism or unhealthy sacrifice. It's about alignment with purpose so profound that what looks like sacrifice to others feels like fulfillment to you. When your vision is tied to your identity, giving it your full force of attention doesn't feel like deprivation. It feels like the most natural expression of who you are becoming. The hidden truth behind every remarkable achievement is that greatness demands concentration of energy that the average person distributes across countless minor pursuits. When you embrace this price willingly, without resentment or hesitation, You access a realm of possibility that remains forever closed to those who insist on comfortable mediocrity. If you've recognized that the price of your vision isn't a burden but a privilege, a necessary investment in becoming who you're meant to be, type "worthy sacrifice" in the comments and claim your place among those who understand the true economics of transformation. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing what happens in the crucible of transformation when desire reaches its absolute peak. This is the threshold where an extraordinary phenomenon occurs, a state where surrender becomes literally impossible, regardless of the obstacles you face. When desire becomes absolute, when it saturates every cell of your being, failure undergoes a fundamental transmutation. It no longer exists as a permanent condition, but transforms into a temporary state, a mere data point on the journey to inevitable success. The revelation that changes everything is this: the world simply cannot defeat someone who refuses to stop. No obstacle, no setback, no rejection possesses enough power to overcome a human being who has decided that retreat is not an option. This isn't blind optimism or wishful thinking. It's a practical reality, witnessed throughout human history. When the fire within you burns hotter than the fire around you, nothing external can permanently obstruct your path. This inner flame doesn't just motivate you, it reshapes your entire relationship with adversity. Challenges that would destroy others merely temper your resolve, forging it into something unbreakable. The awakening comes when you realize that this level of desire creates its own inevitability, not because the universe magically arranges itself around your wishes, but because your perception and response to reality fundamentally shift. You stop seeing barriers as evidence that you should quit and start recognizing them as invitations to find another way forward. This mindset makes victory just a matter of time and persistence. Yet here's where we encounter the critical junction that separates those who merely ignite transformation from those who complete it: the division between dreamers and doers. This boundary isn't drawn by talent, intelligence, or even the intensity of initial desire. It's marked by a single quality that few fully develop: discipline. While desire provides the spark that ignites transformation, discipline is what sustains the flame until completion. It is the steel spine of greatness, the invisible architecture that converts momentary inspiration into lasting achievement. Discipline is the muscle that forces action when every emotion screams to quit, when motivation has evaporated, when the initial excitement has long since faded into the grind of daily execution. The hidden truth is that discipline isn't sexy or exciting. It doesn't flood your system with dopamine like fresh inspiration does. It doesn't promise overnight results or magical shortcuts. Instead, it offers something far more valuable: the certainty that your actions will eventually bend reality to align with your vision, regardless of temporary obstacles or fluctuating emotions. Those who master discipline don't hope the world will accommodate their dreams. They reshape the world through consistent, focused action that doesn't depend on feeling motivated. They understand that greatness isn't built in moments of peak inspiration, but in those ordinary moments when you choose to do what must be done despite having every reason to stop. If you've experienced that profound moment when your desire became so absolute that failure lost its permanence, when you knew with unshakable certainty that you would succeed regardless of setbacks, type "unstoppable force" in the comments and join those who have crossed this threshold of transformation. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exposing one of the most liberating revelations on the path to transformation: the prison most people never realize they're living in. This invisible cage has no physical bars, yet constrains more potential than any external limitation ever could. It's the prison of feelings. The uncomfortable truth is that most people live their entire lives as prisoners of their emotional states. They take action only when they feel inspired. They pursue their goals only when they feel motivated. They push toward their vision only when they feel energized. And the moment these feelings fade, which they inevitably do, progress grinds to a halt. This emotional dependency is precisely why most remain firmly anchored in mediocrity. The awakening begins when you recognize the fundamental nature of feelings. They fluctuate. They rise and fall like waves on an ocean, entirely unconcerned with your goals or vision. To build your life on the foundation of feelings is to build a house on shifting sand. This revelation isn't meant to devalue emotions. They add richness and depth to the human experience, but to illuminate their inappropriate role as the primary driver of consistent action. Discipline, by contrast, remains constant regardless of emotional weather. It shows up when you're exhausted. It executes when you're discouraged. It moves forward when every feeling in your body is screaming to quit. This is the hidden dividing line between the extraordinary and the ordinary. Not talent, not opportunity, not even desire, but the willingness to act in direct opposition to feelings when necessary. This brings us to a critical distinction that most never fully grasp: the fundamental difference between motivation and discipline. These forces are often mentioned together, sometimes even used interchangeably, but they operate on entirely different principles. Motivation is a temporary spark, powerful but inherently unstable. It floods your system with energy and drive, making action feel effortless and exciting. But this neurochemical cocktail was never designed to sustain long-term effort. It fades when you're tired, when results are slow, when obstacles appear, when the initial excitement of the vision is replaced by the grinding reality of daily execution. Discipline, however, is an enduring furnace. It doesn't depend on feeling good or feeling inspired. It operates from a different mechanism entirely, the mechanism of identity and decision rather than emotion. While motivation asks, "Do I feel like doing this today?" discipline simply states, "This is who I am, and this is what I do, regardless of how I feel." The transformation occurs when you stop treating discipline as something you occasionally summon and start embodying it as the core of who you are becoming. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but through the daily practice of choosing action over feeling, commitment over comfort, and purpose over preference. The masters of their destiny understand that feelings make wonderful servants, but terrible masters. They experience the full spectrum of human emotion, but refuse to be governed by it. They feel the resistance, acknowledge the fatigue, notice the fear, and then act anyway. This is the foundation of true power, the ability to direct your behavior based on vision rather than emotion. If this principle of breaking free from the prison of feelings resonates with something deep within you, type "beyond feelings" in the comments and claim your freedom from emotional dependency. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing where the strongest version of yourself is actually forged. Most people have a fundamental misunderstanding about the birthplace of personal power. They believe it emerges during victories, achievements, or moments of public recognition. This illusion keeps them perpetually weak, always chasing the wrong catalyst for transformation. The revelation that changes everything is this: the strongest version of yourself isn't built in moments of comfort, convenience, or applause. It's forged in those sacred hours when nobody is watching, when your body is screaming to quit, when your mind is flooding you with perfectly logical excuses, when continuing feels impossible. These moments aren't obstacles to your transformation. They are the transformation itself, happening in real time. These crucible moments reveal the hidden architecture of extraordinary achievement. Behind every success story, every physical transformation, every business breakthrough lies countless unseen hours of someone pushing forward when everything within them begged to stop. The public sees the result but rarely witnesses the private battle that produced it. Discipline reveals its true nature in these moments of resistance. It doesn't eliminate the voice of doubt or fatigue. It simply refuses to obey it. While the average person negotiates with weakness, the disciplined mind acknowledges the discomfort and then systematically overrides it. This isn't about denying reality, it's about transcending it through the power of decision. The masters of their destiny understand that these difficult moments aren't punishments to endure, but opportunities to embrace. Each time you continue when comfort calls you to quit, you're not just completing a task. You're literally rebuilding your identity. You're proving to yourself at the deepest neurological level that you are not a slave to circumstance or sensation. This brings us to perhaps the most liberating truth about discipline. It isn't something you're born with or without. It's something you consciously build through consistent choice. The notion that some people naturally possess discipline while others don't is one of the most disempowering myths in personal development. Discipline isn't a personality trait. It's a practice accessible to anyone willing to develop it. The pathway to this power is surprisingly simple, though not easy. Consistently doing what you said you would do, regardless of how you feel or what obstacles arise. This commitment to your word, especially the word you give to yourself, builds an unshakable foundation for achievement. Each time you honor your commitment, you stack another brick of power in the fortress of your character. What most don't realize is that keeping your word to yourself matters more than keeping it to others. When you break promises to yourself, skipping the workout you committed to, abandoning the project when it gets difficult, hitting snooze instead of rising at the time you set, you're not just missing a single opportunity for growth. You're actively teaching your subconscious that your word means nothing, that your commitments are optional, that you cannot be trusted. This self-betrayal creates an invisible ceiling on your potential that no amount of external motivation can overcome. Conversely, when you consistently honor your word to yourself, even in small matters, you build a relationship of trust with your own consciousness that becomes the bedrock of extraordinary achievement. If you've experienced that profound moment when your discipline silenced the voice of excuse and drove you forward despite every reason to quit, type "forged in fire" in the comments and acknowledge the strength you've already begun building. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic by revealing the invisible architecture that transforms discipline from an occasional practice into an unstoppable force. Most people approach discipline with the wrong framework entirely. They treat their most important actions as suggestions, preferences, or attempts rather than absolute commands. This subtle mindset shift explains why so few maintain consistency despite genuine desire for change. The revelation that revolutionizes achievement is this: to build relentless discipline, you must establish non-negotiable standards in your life. Not guidelines you'll try to follow when convenient, not aspirations you hope to reach someday, but commandments, sacred, unbreakable rules that govern your existence regardless of circumstance, mood, or external pressure. This transformation begins by identifying the specific daily actions that most directly advance your purpose. These aren't arbitrary tasks or busy work. They're the vital few behaviors that create disproportionate progress toward your vision. Once identified, these actions must be elevated from options to imperatives. You don't decide each day whether to perform them. You decide once, and then execution becomes automatic, without question or exception. Behind the scenes of every extraordinary achievement lies this hidden foundation of non-negotiable standards. The champion doesn't wake up and consider whether they feel like training today. The successful entrepreneur doesn't debate whether they should show up for their commitments. They've removed the mental friction of choice from their most essential actions, conserving their decision-making energy for strategic matters rather than daily execution. This level of commitment may seem extreme to those programmed for mediocrity, but the truth is that negotiable standards produce negotiable results. When your actions depend on convenience, mood, or optimal conditions, your outcomes will reflect that inconsistency. Non-negotiable standards create non-negotiable progress. The blueprint for implementation requires one more critical element: the systematic elimination of distractions. The uncomfortable truth is that chaos feeds weakness, while structure builds strength. Your environment isn't neutral. It's either supporting your highest potential or sabotaging it with each passing moment. The masters of achievement understand that focus is the ultimate currency of accomplishment, and it must be protected as fiercely as your life itself. They construct their days like fortresses, planned, guarded, and precise. Every hour has a purpose. Every action advances the mission. This level of structure isn't restriction. It's liberation from the tyranny of distraction and indecision. The awakening comes when you recognize that most activities stealing your time aren't even things you consciously choose. They're default behaviors that fill the unstructured spaces in your day. The notifications that fragment your attention, the meaningless scrolling that consumes precious minutes, the low-value conversations that drain your energy. These aren't innocent diversions, they're invisible assassins of greatness. Eliminating these distractions isn't just about productivity, it's about protecting the sacred mental space required for transformation. Your focus determines your reality. When you guard it with unwavering vigilance, directing it only toward what truly matters, you access a level of clarity and power that the distracted mind never experiences. If you've begun establishing non-negotiable standards in your life and felt the difference between suggestion and commandment, type non-negotiable in the comments and share in this transformative approach to discipline. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining the moments that truly reveal your character, those challenging crucibles where your commitment is tested beyond what seems reasonable or fair. These defining moments don't announce themselves in advance. They arrive disguised as ordinary days that suddenly demand extraordinary resolve. There will be seasons in your transformation journey when nothing seems to be working. Days when you feel completely broken, periods when results appear non-existent despite your consistent effort, moments when your mind screams with absolute conviction that continuing is pointless, that you're wasting your time, that the vision you've been pursuing is nothing but an illusion. These dark valleys aren't detours from the path of growth, they are the path itself. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that these moments aren't testing your ability. They're revealing your identity. They strip away the veneer of who you pretend to be and expose who you truly are at your core. Anyone can maintain discipline when motivation is high, when results are visible, when the path forward is clear. But the strong, those who achieve what others only dream about, continue to act with precision and purpose when every circumstance suggests surrender. This is where the invisible separation occurs between those who talk about transformation and those who actually experience it. The decisive factor isn't talent, opportunity, or even initial desire. It's the capacity to maintain disciplined action when the fire of motivation has been extinguished by the cold winds of reality. This capacity isn't mystical or genetic. It's built through the conscious decision to honor your commitments precisely when honoring them feels most difficult. Behind this journey lies one of the most profound paradoxes of personal development, the true relationship between discipline and freedom. Most people operate under the fundamental misunderstanding that discipline is a form of imprisonment, a rigid cage that restricts spontaneity and limits expression. This illusion keeps countless potential achievers trapped in the actual prison of undirected living. The awakening comes when you recognize that discipline isn't the cage, it's the key that unlocks the door. The real chains that bind human potential are chaos, laziness, and indulgence. These forces don't liberate you, they enslave you to impulse, circumstance, and the tyranny of the moment. True freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you feel like doing. It's the power to command yourself toward your highest vision, regardless of what you momentarily feel. Discipline gives you control over the three domains that determine the quality of your existence: your mind, your time, and your destiny. It allows you to direct your thoughts rather than being directed by them. It enables you to invest your hours intentionally rather than watching them disappear. It empowers you to shape your future rather than merely hoping for it. This understanding reveals perhaps the most fundamental truth of personal sovereignty. The person who cannot command themselves can command nothing. All external achievements, wealth, influence, impact, flow from this internal mastery. Without self-command, even the most impressive external accomplishments eventually crumble under the weight of an undisciplined character. If you've experienced that profound moment when discipline felt not like restriction, but like the ultimate form of liberation, type "discipline equals freedom" in the comments and share in this transformative paradox that few ever truly understand. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring one of the most powerful yet overlooked principles governing personal transformation: the compounding effect of discipline. Most people fundamentally misunderstand the timeline of meaningful change because they fail to grasp how invisible progress accumulates beneath the surface long before visible results emerge. One day of discipline means almost nothing in isolation. A single workout doesn't transform your body. One focused work session doesn't build a business. One morning of meditation doesn't revolutionize your mindset. This apparent lack of immediate payoff is precisely why most abandon their path before breakthrough occurs. They interpret the absence of visible results as evidence that their efforts are futile, never realizing they're experiencing the natural incubation period that precedes all significant achievement. The revelation that changes everything is understanding that discipline operates on the principle of compound interest. Every day you choose consistency over comfort, execution over excuse, purpose over preference. You're not just completing tasks, you're stacking invisible victories. Each one seems inconsequential alone, but together they create a foundation of momentum that eventually becomes unstoppable. This hidden mechanism explains why transformation appears to happen suddenly for those who have been consistent for months or years. The results weren't sudden at all. They were accumulating beneath the surface, building potential energy that eventually reaches a tipping point. 1 year of unwavering discipline doesn't just add 365 individual days of effort. It multiplies them into an exponential force that transforms your entire life. The journey reveals itself most clearly in hindsight. Looking back, you'll recognize that the breakthrough didn't happen on day 300. It was being built systematically from day one. This understanding transforms how you approach each day of seeming invisibility, each moment. When results haven't yet materialized, these aren't periods of failure. They're necessary phases of incubation where your consistent actions are silently restructuring reality. This brings us to perhaps the most profound dimension of discipline, the point where it transcends behavior and becomes identity. The ultimate achievement isn't practicing discipline, it's embodying it so completely that it's no longer something you do, but something you are. Build your routines like iron, guard them like treasure, and execute them like warfare. Not because you're forcing yourself to follow a rigid system, but because these structures have become the natural expression of who you've become. Show up consistently regardless of how you feel, not through willpower, but through the alignment of action with identity. The awakening arrives when you realize that the masters of achievement don't maintain discipline through perpetual struggle. They've crossed an invisible threshold where the disciplined action is actually easier than the undisciplined alternative. The workout isn't something they force themselves to do. Missing it would feel like betraying themselves. The focused work isn't an obligation. Distraction would feel uncomfortable to their rewired nervous system. This is the ultimate revelation. Eventually, discipline is no longer a practice you maintain with effort. It becomes who you are at your core. And nothing in this world is more powerful than a human being who has fully embodied discipline as their fundamental nature. They don't try to be disciplined. They simply are discipline incarnate. Their presence alone becomes a force that inspires others and reshapes environments. If you've experienced moments where discipline stopped feeling like something you have to force and started feeling like the natural expression of your identity, type "becoming discipline" in the comments and share in this profound transformation. You know, as we come to the close of this conversation, I can't help but reflect on the journey we've taken together, from understanding the power of burning bridges to mediocrity, to recognizing that discipline isn't just something you practice, but something you become. We've explored the architecture of transformation that Neville Goddard understood so profoundly. This path of becoming your strongest self isn't for everyone. It's for those rare individuals who sense there's something more powerful within them waiting to be unleashed. If you're still with me at this point, you're clearly one of those people, someone who refuses to settle for less than their extraordinary potential. If this message has ignited something within you, if these words have connected with a truth you already sensed but perhaps couldn't articulate, I'd love for you to type "awakened purpose" in the comments below. This simple action creates a community of like-minded individuals committed to this journey of transformation. The conversations we have here are meant to challenge conventional thinking and provide genuine value, not just motivation, but actionable wisdom. If you found value in this exploration, consider subscribing to join us on this continuing journey of discovery. Each like you leave helps these ideas reach others who might be searching for exactly this message. I believe these principles of purpose, desire, and discipline aren't just concepts to be understood. They're powers to be embodied. And speaking of embodiment, there's a video right here that takes these principles even deeper, exploring how to apply them specifically to the challenges you're facing right now. Click and continue with me there as we build upon this foundation and take the next step together on this path of transformation. Until then, remember, the strongest version of yourself is waiting on the other side of your decision. Make that decision now.